Our focus on this first day is to deal with some patterns that we find in specific multiplication problems in math. And so when you leave here today, you should be able to do lots of multiplying in your head. And we're going to start with a very simple trick that works when we are multiplying numbers by 11. So let's say that we have 43 times 11. So the typical way that this trick works is we're going to split up the outside digits. Well, we have two digits, so the 4 is one outside digit and the 3 is another outside digit. And then the sum of those two digits will be the digit that goes in between those two. So the sum of 4 and 3, of course, is 7. And so if we input that digit in between those two, we can see that 43 times 11 is 473. Very simple. I would like all of you to try this one. All right, much like the last problem, we split up the outside digits. So we split up the 2 and the 7. We find the sum of those two numbers, and we input that in between the 2 and the 7. So the sum of 2 and 7 is 9. And so we can see that 27 times 11 is 297. So the first question that usually comes up is this: well, what happens if the digits add up to be 10 or more? Well, the trick works exactly the same way. And so we have 85 times 11. So the first common mistake is to split up the 8 and the 5 and then say, well, 8 plus 5 is 13 and throw that in between here. But that really should not make sense to you, because if we took a similar problem like 81 times 11, which we could easily see that that's 891. Well, if 81 times 11 is 891, how in the world could 85 times 11 be 8,000 and something? Well, it can't. So how are we going to make this work? Well, we still add up the 8 and the 5 and split up the 8 and the 5. 8 and 5, the sum of those two numbers is 13. So what we do is we take the ones digit from that 13, and that's the number that we put in between the 8 and the 5. And then we have to do something with the 1. Well, it should kind of make sense to you that we're going to carry that 1 onto the 8, which now turns the 8 into a 9. And so we can see that 85 times 11 is 935. All right, I would like all of you to try this one. Okay, so we split up the 9 and the 7. We find the sum of 9 and 7, which is 16. So the ones digit from the 16 goes in between, and we carry the tens digit onto the 9 to turn it into a 10. And so 97 times 11 is 1,067. Very, very simple. All right, so some problems for you to try. 53 times 11, of course, is 583. 45 times 11 is 495. 38 times 11 is 418. 77 times 11, and number 3 and 4 are the ones where we have the two digits add up to be 10 or more, so we have to put the ones digit in between and carry the tens digit. So 77 times 11 is 847. And then number 5, 95 times 11 is 1,045. So it's only a trick if it can work on anything. Well, even if we have a 3-digit number or a 4-digit number or any digit number times 11, it still works the same way. And so we split up the outside digits, and this time we are multiplying a 3-digit number times 11 instead of a 2-digit number, so it should kind of make sense that there will be 2 digits in between. And then we read left to right, so we're going to add pairs of numbers in the number that we're multiplying by 11 from left to right. So we start by adding 3 and 2, which is a 5. And then adding 2 and 1, which is a 3. And so we can see that 321 times 11 is 3,531. Now remember, what we're trying to do here today is we're just trying to have a little bit of fun with some multiplication tricks. And when you end this lesson, you should be able to do all of these problems in your head fairly quickly, much like this problem or this one right here. I would like all of you to try that one. Okay, so we split up the outside digits and then we add pairs of digits together from left to right. So 1 and 4 make 5, 4 and 3 will make 7, 3 and 6 will make 9, and so 1,436 times 11 is 15,796. All right, try the next block of problems. Okay, 253 times 11 is 2,783. 316 times 11 is 3,476, utilizing the 11's trick. 2,614 times 11 is 28,754, and 16,345 times 11 is 179,795. So that's the first trick for today. The next trick is, what if you're multiplying two numbers where the tens digits are the same, so the 3's in this case are the same, and the 1's digits add up to 10. So this trick is actually easier than the 11's one, but we have to make sure that these are the things that are happening. The 10's digits are the same, and the 1's digits add up to 10. And so for this trick, we will multiply the 5 times 5, which is 25, and then I'm going to take one of the two tens digits, it doesn't matter which one, I usually take the top one and bump it up 1, and then multiply those two numbers together. Well, 4 times 3 is 12, so that means that 35 times 35 is 1,225. All right, try this one. And so, of course, this is the same type of trick. The 10's digits are the same, and the 1's digits add to 10. So we have a 25 right there. Take one of the 7's and bump it up to an 8. That's 56. So 75 times 75 is 5,625. Try the next one. 10's digits are the same. 1's digits add up to 10. And so 8 times 2 is 16. Take one of the 2's, bump it up to a 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. So 28 times 22 is 616. How about this one? 10's digits are the same. 1's digits add up to 10. So 3 times 7 is 21. And we'll take one of the 8's, bump it up to a 9, and 9 times 8 is 72. So 83 times 87 is 7,221. All right, problems for you to try. $95 times 95 is 9,025. 65 times 65 is 4,225. 37 times 33 is 1,221. Number 13, 112 times 118. A little more problems with this one than all the rest of them. First of all, we have to make sure that the trick works, and of course it does, because these two numbers add up to 10, and these two are the same. So that's okay. And so we're going to apply the trick then. 2 times 8 is 16. Take one of the 11's, bump it up to a 12, and 12 times 11 is 132. And so that is 13,216. And then in this one, as we found out, this does not follow that trick. And of course, it doesn't follow the 11's trick either, although we could use the 11's trick with a little bit of trickery there if we wanted to, but we're not going to worry about that. So we have to be careful with that. So the last thing for today is, what if we do have a problem like 43 times 44? Doesn't follow any of the other tricks. Well, there's a pattern for all two-digit numbers by two-digit numbers when we're multiplying. It's really a three-step pattern, and so make sure that you have this pattern copied down, and the dots just represent digits. So the first step is to multiply those two digits together. So in the problem that I have here, 38 times 25, we're going to multiply 8 times 5. Well, of course, 8 times 5 is 40. So the digit that we're going to write down is we're going to write down the 0. And then we have to keep the tens digit, which happens to be, of course, that 4 right there. We're either going to keep it in our head or we'll keep it on our left hand. I tend to keep it on my left hand, but you could keep it in your mind if you wanted to. Okay, so we've got to have that 4 that we're going to have to add back in at some point. So the second step of the pattern is to multiply both diagonals together and then add those two products together. So in this problem we have 3 times 5, which is 15. And then we have the other diagonal, so 2 times 8 is 16. And we're going to add those two products together, and that is 31. But then we have that 4 that we kept in our head or on our left hand, and we have to add on to that. And 31 plus 4 is 35. So we're going to once again take the ones digit, put it right next to the 0. Now we have this 3 right here, which happens to be the tens digit that we either need to keep in our head or on our left hand. Up to you how you want to keep track of that. And the last step in the pattern is to, of course, multiply the 3 and the 2, and we probably could have figured that out without too much thinking. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, but I also have that 3 that I had either on my left hand or in my head that I have to add on to that, and that's 9. And so 38 times 25 is 950. And this works for all 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication problems. Okay? I would like everybody to try this one. Alright, we're going to go through the 2-digit by 2-digit trick utilizing the 3-step pattern that we talked about in the previous problem. And so the first thing we need to do is multiply 5 times 7. Well, 5 times 7 is 35. We will write down the ones digit. We will keep the tens digit either in our head or on our left hand. Or right hand if you're left-handed. And so now I'm going to multiply both diagonals together and add those two products together. So we have 5 times 7 is 35. And we have 3 times 5, which is 15. The sum of those two products is 50. Plus the 3 that we had in our head or on our other hand or opposite hand, that's 53. So we write down the ones digit. Keep the tens digit in our head or on our opposite hand. And next I'm going to multiply the last two digits together, the 5 and the 3, and 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 5 that we had on our opposite hand or in our head, and that makes 20, and so that would make 55 times 37, 2035. And now our practice problems. Okay, 63 times 45 is 2,835. Utilizing this last trick that we learned today, 28 times 34 is 952. 57 times 64 is 3,648. And that is it for today. Homework is multiplication shortcuts worksheet. And one point I want to make, if there are any of the tricks or shortcuts that you do not understand, then my advice, multiply them out the long way, the way that you would have learned in the 4th or the 5th, or maybe even the 6th grade.